Hey, welcome to another edition, a very special edition of Mysteries of the Superstition Mountains. We're out here today at Goldfield, Arizona, and it is a marvelous place that you should come out and visit. And one of the creators of Goldfield is Bob Schoose, and we're going to talk to him right now. So, Bob, tell us the history of Goldfield.
The history is a real web. It actually started finding gold out here in 1883, 84. That's when some of the first claims were actually filed. Hakes was one of the first discoverers. He used to come out here alone, and he couldn't get anybody to go with him because some of the Apaches were still running around in small bands, and nobody wanted to take a chance of coming out here. So he kept making his little trips out here, and he kept bringing samples back, but he couldn't get anybody to back him. And it wasn't until about 1892, and I realized the Apaches surrendered in 87. That was the last of the Apache wars, and he couldn't get anybody to come out here with him till 92, and that's when they got serious. He had partners, the Merrill brothers, and Morris was his financial backer. But Morris sent the Merrill brothers to make sure that everything was on the up and up. And they did find the Black Queen. I mean, there was a whole bunch of them. They had funny names, George Washington, the Abe Lincoln, all these funny names on those first claims. But they started actually mining at the Queen, all right? And they did find some good gold over there. Now, they didn't have the financial backing to start a big operation. So they made a deal with Hall and Sullivan out of Colorado, and they bonded the mine. That was more or less, they agreed to pay so much money for the claims. So they put that deal together, and Hakes, again, was out hunting rabbits after a big storm that came through, and it washed a bunch of water down Weeks Wash, and it exposed a vein down here on the Mammoth. That vein proved to be one of the richest mines in Arizona at the time. They were estimated they pulled $1.5 million out of it. Now the sad part was the four guys, the four partners, got $5,000 apiece for the mines. And when they found that other vein, it automatically went to the Halls, Hall and Sullivan. So they were, I imagine they were, feeling bad about selling short. And they still prospected around in the area. They worked over at the Bulldog for a while. And, but Hall and Sullivan produced $1.5 million out of that stope. They named it after the four guys, the Mormon stope. They were all Mormons at the time.
So what got you interested, Bob, in creating all this? I
did excavating and construction all my life, and I did a lot of mining in California before I came to Arizona. And, it always interested me, and I'd come from ghost towns where I was mining in the Mojave Desert. And I knew that all of them were kind of going to historical stuff and becoming attractions in themselves. People are interested in old history and stuff, and I got tired of construction going up and down, so I was looking for something that would be more stable. And we happened along this piece of property here. It was for sale at the time, 5 acres. And we decided we'd buy it, contingent that we could get the zoning to put something in that we could make money with, which was a mine tour and some buildings. Well, they wouldn't give us the zoning for if that's all we were going to do. We had to use more of the property. So that's when we decided, well, we'll build a few buildings and rent them out, and we're going to, put it where the old town was. But at the time we started buying a piece of property, we did not know that it actually sat here until we did all that research. That water tower over there is sitting on the original foundation. Those foundations were here when we built it. And it looks just like the other one, except that was a wooden tank, and we put a metal one in.
All right, so do you have some ambitious plans to make Goldfield bigger?
Everybody wants me to go to the next level, and I don't want to make a tourist trap out of it. I want the history kept, you know. I got a couple of sons, they wanted me to put roller coasters in and stuff, and I said, no, we're not doing that, you know. That ain't what we want to project.
Ah, come on, no log ride?
No log ride. They mentioned that too.
Oh, I bet they did.
But if they wanted a mine car roller coaster, I said, no.
All right, Bob, so in the day, how many people were actually here at Goldfield?
And they say that at one point, Goldfield had a bigger population than the other towns in the area. And that was because of a gold rush happened. I mean, they had tents set up all over the place, and everybody thought they were going to come out here and find gold. And that only lasted a short period of time, and then they left because not everybody found it. There was only, I think there was only really 3 good producing mines out here. But there was prospect holes everywhere. Prospect holes everywhere. They dug everywhere. And there was one article in the paper that said that during the summertime, they would find more values if everybody didn't dig their shaft under a shade tree. I loved it.
So, Bob, I heard that you dug up the body, or what was left of a miner here, and then after digging him up, you reburied him. What's going on?
Yeah, we were putting in a conduit under the railroad track down there, so that I didn't have to have an overhead wire going over the track. And this was kind of a weird deal. I borrowed the backhoe from Housley, who was running the mine over here at the time, and I'm digging away, and all of a sudden, it had some water in the fuel. And we had to stop and mess with it, had to drain everything, put new fuel in it, bleed it. We got it going again, and I'm digging, and I mean, I'm on solid rock scraping, you know, just trying to get deep enough to put the conduit in. And all of a sudden, I got to the other side there, and I found a soft spot. And I go, okay, this is where I'm putting the pole, you know, because we had a pole and then the conduit and another pole coming back up. And so I'm digging, and Salvador's with me now. Remember, he's the little Mexican guy and he speaks real broken English. I used to have to translate for him, remember that? and he was speaking English, but I had to translate for him. Anyway, he's standing there, and I'm dumping a pile, and he goes like this. And I'm thinking he's telling me to go deeper. So I go in and get another bucket, dump it on the pile, and there's a skull sitting on the top of the pile. Unbelievable. And I went, holy mackerel. And we didn't know what to do, you know. So we called the sheriff and told him, and the sheriff came out, one guy, and we spent the rest of the day screening, digging real slow and easy, getting all the bones out. It was amazing because the sheriff later told me that we recovered, you know, like 98% of the guy. There was a couple little finger bones missing and something about toe bones, and that was it. Other than that, we got all of them.
Then after digging him up, you reburied him?
Well, yeah, after a battle with the county and everybody else. They kept him for a year down at U of A, down in Tucson, and they did all this, you know, whatever you call it, forensics and all that. And it was 80 to 100 years prior by the patina and the bones and stuff. He was in a coffin. We got the knots from the coffin and a couple of Levi rivets. And so other than that, there wasn't much left, you know. But we fought and fought with the county, had to get a special use permit to be able to bury him, rebury him on our property. Because at the time, we did not own the property. That was a right-of-way that the BLM had given us for the train. And we eventually ended up buying that land from the BLM. But yeah, you know, I wish that would have been the case. I could have put him back where he was. But we buried him by the train station down there, and we gave him a hell of a funeral. A hell of a funeral.
I'll bet you did.
Yeah.
All right, and a big thanks to Bob Schoose, one of the co-owners of Goldfield, Arizona. And if you haven't come out here to Goldfield, you need to make the trip. A wonderful recreation of this old ghost town, which was one of the mysteries of the Superstition Mountains.